You ever live somewhere so quiet, so normal, that you just assume nothing bad could ever really happen? That was my neighborhood. I moved into my house in the fall of 2021, after years of apartment living. Finally, no more paper-thin walls, no more upstairs neighbors stomping around at 3 a.m., no more fighting over parking spaces, just a peaceful suburban street lined with single-family homes, each with a neatly trimmed lawn, a driveway, and that classic everyone waves but no one really talks kind of atmosphere. For the first year, everything was perfect. I worked from home as a freelance web developer, which meant I was home most of the time. I had a good routine morning coffee on my porch, gym in the afternoon, the occasional weekend BBQ with my buddy Chris, who lived a few streets over. My only real company was my dog, Cooper, a golden retriever mixed with way too much energy and a deep-rooted hatred for squirrels. Then, my packages started disappearing. At first, I brushed it off as delivery mistakes. A lost order here, a delayed package, there it happens, right? But then it kept happening. I'd get a notification that my package had been delivered, step outside, and find nothing. The first time, it was a hoodie I had ordered in early November. No big deal. Maybe it got sent to the wrong house. The second time, it was a pair of wireless earbuds. Annoying, but again, I figured it was just a mix-up. Then came the third time. A brand new power drill gun. That was when I knew something was up. I tried the usual, steps call the delivery company, filed a report, even checked with my neighbors to see if maybe a package had been misdelivered. No luck. The delivery driver swore he had left it on my porch, and the tracking info confirmed it. But my security camera, which only covered the immediate area around my door, showed nothing past the initial drop-off. No porch pirates running up to grab it, no suspicious activity. Just gone. And that's when I started paying closer attention to my surroundings. That's when I noticed the Wilsons. John and Linda Wilson, my neighbors 2 houses down, were your typical middle-aged suburban couple. John was one of those guys who always seemed to be fixing something in his garage, but never actually finished a project. Linda? She was the type who knew everything about everyone on the street, who was getting renovations, who left their trash cans out too long, who hadn't mowed their lawn in a while. For the longest time, I never had a reason to suspect them of anything. But as I started keeping an eye out, I noticed some weird things. For one, Linda was always outside when my deliveries were scheduled to arrive. She'd be in her front yard, pretending to check her mailbox, watering her plants, or just standing around like she was waiting for something. And then there was John. John had new gadgets, a brand new set of noise-canceling earbuds, a power drill that looked suspiciously like the one I had ordered. At first, I thought I was being paranoid, but the timing was too perfect. It was too much of a coincidence. So, I decided to set a trap. And trust me, they were never going to forget. It wasn't about the stolen packages anymore, it was about the principle of it. The Wilsons thought they could take my stuff and get away with it, like I wouldn't notice, like I wouldn't do anything about it. They were wrong. For the first time since this all started, I actually felt excited. I had spent weeks frustrated, feeling helpless, wondering who was stealing from me and how they were getting away with it. But now, I was in control. I spent the next evening making some adjustments. First, I repositioned my security camera to capture a full view of my porch, driveway, and the street in front of my house. No more blind spots. No more mystery disappearances. If someone so much as stepped near my door, I'd catch them in crystal clear 1080p evidence. Then, I set the perfect bait. I grabbed a plain cardboard box and stuffed it with a brick and a die pack. Not just any die pack, the kind that banks use in cash bags during robberies. The second someone opened it, it would explode, releasing a cloud of bright blue ink that wouldn't wash off for days. And because I was feeling extra petty, I added a generous sprinkle of glitter. If you've ever dealt with glitter, you know it's basically forever dirt. They'd be finding that stuff for months. I sealed the package, slapped a fake Amazon label on it, and left it right in the middle of my porch, looking as tempting as possible. Now, all I had to do was wait. I barely got any work done the next day. I kept checking my phone, watching the live security feed, waiting for something to happen. My heart would race every time a car drove past or when someone walked their dog down the street. Then, at 3:47 p.m., I saw movement. Linda Wilson. She strolled down the sidewalk, acting casual, phone in hand, like she was just taking in the fresh air. But I knew better. She did what she always did, pause near my driveway, glanced around to check for witnesses, and then, boom. Like a well-practiced routine, she snatched the package and tucked it under her arm, then turned around and walked straight back to her house as if nothing had happened. And the wildest part, she didn't even hesitate. No paranoia, no guilt, no second thoughts. She had done this before. I watched her disappear inside her house, my heart pounding. Now, I just had to wait for the fireworks. About 10 minutes later, a sharp scream cut through the quiet neighborhood. I sat up straight. That was fast. Then came the slamming door, followed by more muffled shouting. I pulled up my phone and rewound the security footage, switching angles to face the Wilsons' house. There she was. Linda bursting into her house, arms flailing like she had just been electrocuted. Even from the grainy security footage, I could see it streaks of bright blue ink all over her hands and forearms. I covered my mouth to stop myself from laughing out loud. The dye pack had gone off instantly, meaning she opened the package right away. I imagined the scene inside their house, Linda panicking, John yelling, blue ink everywhere, glitter clinging to their furniture. I grabbed a drink, sat back on my couch, and enjoyed the show.
Didn't have to wait long.
And I knew this was far
The screaming had barely died down when I heard another noise, the unmistakable slam of a door down the street. A second later, John Wilson stormed outside, his face twisted in rage as he yelled something at Linda, who was still inside. I couldn't hear the exact words, but I didn't need to. I could imagine the scene. Blue ink everywhere. On their hands, their clothes, the furniture, maybe even the walls if she had really panicked. And the glitter? Oh, that stuff was never coming out. I almost felt bad for them. Almost. John stood on his porch for a second, hands on his hips, breathing heavily. Then, he looked around, as if scanning the street, before marching back inside. I smirked, taking a sip of my drink. He was furious, and I knew exactly why. They couldn't explain this away. They couldn't call the cops. What were they going to say? "Officer, someone booby-trapped the package we stole." They were trapped, and the best part? I wasn't done yet. That evening, just as the sun started setting, I heard footsteps on my driveway. I glanced at my phone, pulling up my security camera feed, and there he was, John Wilson, walking straight toward my front door. I took a deep breath, keeping my expression neutral as I opened up. "Hey, John," I said, acting casual. "What's up?" He forced a strained smile, but I could see the tension in his jaw, the stiffness in his stance. And the best part? His hands were still faintly stained blue. "I was just, He cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "You didn't happen to see anything strange around here today, did you?" I raised an eyebrow. "Strange? Like what?" "Well, someone's been stealing packages in the neighborhood, you know. Thought you might have seen something on your camera." "Oh, I saw something. All right." I crossed my arms. "Stealing packages? Wow, that's weird." I glanced toward his house like I was deep in thought. "Now that you mention it, I did hear something earlier. Some kind of, shouting." His face twitched. "Yeah," he muttered. "We had a little situation." "A situation?" I repeated. He swallowed hard, clearly regretting knocking on my door. "Yeah. Someone must have left something, I don't know, tampered with, and, well, it made a mess." I barely kept a straight face. "Oh no," I said, feigning concern. "That sounds terrible. You should really be careful with, picking up other people's stuff." His nostrils flared, and for a second I thought he might lose it right there. But then he forced another awkward chuckle, scratching the back of his neck. Right. Anyway, you sure you didn't see anything?" I shrugged. "No idea. But I do have security cameras. Maybe I should check the footage." And that's when it happened. The color drained from his face. Well, under the blue ink, anyway. Yeah. That's a good idea," he said quickly. "Let me know if you find anything." And before I could say anything else, he turned and walked away fast. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him go. Oh yeah. He was sweating. He knew they were caught. And I wasn't done yet. I let them stew in silence for the next 24 hours. No messages, no texts, no sudden visits, and I knew it was killing them. Then, the next morning, I made my move. I printed screenshots from the footage clear as day, showing Linda grabbing the package and walking away with Aita, taped them to a note. The note read, "I know. Return everything or this goes to the police." Then I casually walked over and taped it to their front door. I didn't have to wait long for a reaction. About an hour later, there was a frantic knock on my door. I pulled up my camera feed again. Linda. Her hands were scrubbed raw, but I could still see faint blue stains near her fingernails. Her hair was a mess, and she looked like she hadn't slept all night. I took a deep breath, letting a long moment pass before finally opening the door. She gave me a tight, forced smile. "Hey there, neighbor." I didn't say anything, just stared at her. Her smile faltered. "So, I think there's been a misunderstanding," she started. "You see, I think maybe someone accidentally picked up a package that wasn't theirs, and—" "You mean you accidentally picked up my package?" I interrupted. Her face went red. Well, I mean, I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Linda, I have security cameras. Do you really want to keep lying to my face?" She swallowed hard. Then, without another word, she reached down, grabbed the garbage bag she had been holding, and dropped it on my porch. Inside, not just my missing items, but several others that clearly belonged to different neighbors. Busted. She cleared her throat, forcing another awkward laugh. "You know, we all make mistakes." I tilted my head. "Uh-huh. I mean, it's just a big misunderstanding, really," she trailed off, watching me, probably hoping I'd say something to let her off the hook. But I just let the silence stretch. She sighed. "Look, we're really sorry. It won't happen again, okay?" I stared at her for a long moment. Then, finally, I said, "I know it won't." And with that, I shut the door in her face. For the next week, the Wilsons were quiet. No more stolen packages. No more fake-friendly small talk. Then, one day, I noticed something. A for sale sign in their yard. I don't know if they were forced to move or if the shame finally got to them. But either way, they were gone. And me? Well, I ordered one last package, just for fun. A doormat. Linda It stood read, there, shifting her
"Thieves
weight from foot to
beware."
foot, her fingers fidgeting at the hem of her sweater like a nervous kid caught red-handed. Even after what was probably hours of scrubbing, I could still see faint streaks of blue ink near her nails, and the subtle shimmer of glitter that refused to let go. She knew she was cornered. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, letting the silence stretch just long enough to watch her squirm. She finally cleared her throat. "Look, this is all just a misunderstanding," I finished for her. "That's what you're going with?" She swallowed hard. "I don't know what happened. I think maybe someone must have confused our house for yours." I raised an eyebrow. "Right. So someone else stole my package, ran it over to your house, and then opened it inside?" She didn't answer. Just stood there, blinking rapidly like she was trying to think of a better excuse. I let out a slow sigh. "Linda, I have security cameras. Do you really want to keep playing this game?" That finally broke her. She let out a shaky breath and deflated right in front of me. "We made a mistake." I tilted my head. "We?" Her eyes darted to the side. "John didn't know. It was just—" I laughed, shaking my head. "Linda, come on. Your husband literally came to my door yesterday trying to fish for information. He knew. You both knew." Her face turned red and she bit her lip, looking like she wanted to melt into the ground. "Good." I pointed at the garbage bag at her feet. "That everything?" She nodded furiously, grabbing the bag and dumping it onto my porch like it was a bomb about to go off. Packages spilled out, not just mine, but at least 5 or 6 others. I spotted a box with Chris's name on it. He lived a few houses down. And a smaller package that belonged to the retired couple across the street. I clenched my jaw. They hadn't just been stealing from me. They had been doing this for a while. I took a step forward, lowering my voice. "Here's the deal. You ever take anything from my porch again, the video goes straight to the police." Linda nodded so fast I thought she might hurt herself. "It won't happen again." "Damn right it won't." She practically sprinted back to her house, slamming the door behind her like she was afraid I might change my mind. I glanced down at the pile of stolen goods, exhaling slowly. This wasn't over. I wasn't the type to get involved in neighborhood drama, but this wasn't something I could just let slide. So I did the next logical thing. I grabbed Chris's package, dusted off my hands, and walked down the street. When he opened the door, he looked confused. "Yo, what's up?" I held up the box with his name on it. "You missing this?" His eyes widened. "Dude, this went missing last week." I smirked. "Yeah, well, turns out the Wilsons have been collecting things." Chris stared at me for a second, then he laughed. Hard. "No way." "Oh, way." I gave him a quick run down the stolen packages, the security footage, the dye pack explosion, the absolute disaster that followed. By the time I was done, he was practically doubling over in his doorway. "Dude, I would have paid money to see that. Yeah, well, I got the footage. Might have to host a neighborhood screening. Chris wiped a tear from his eye. Oh, we're telling everyone. And just like that, the Wilsons' secret? It wasn't a secret anymore. By the next afternoon, the whole block knew. It started small. Chris mentioned it to a couple of neighbors, who mentioned it to a few more, and pretty soon the Wilsons were the talk of the entire street. And the best part, I didn't have to do anything. I kept my security footage to myself, for now. But the whispers, the side eyes, the sudden awkward silences when Linda or John tried to make small talk, that was all them. Word spreads fast in a quiet neighborhood. By the weekend, John couldn't even take out the trash without someone giving him a dirty look. Linda tried to play it cool, acting extra friendly, waving at neighbors like nothing had happened. But people weren't stupid. The damage was done. And then came the for sale sign. I spotted it early one morning while out walking Cooper. A brand new realtor's sign planted right in the Wilsons' front yard. I stopped, staring at it for a long second before letting out a low whistle. Damn, that was fast. A soft chuckle came from my left. I turned to see Chris, coffee in hand, standing on his own porch with a smirk. They finally had enough? I asked. Chris grinned. Or maybe they just got tired of being thieves with a reputation. We both glanced toward their house. The curtains were shut tight, no sign of movement inside. They haven't said anything? I asked. Chris shook his head. Not a word. Just been keeping their heads down. I heard John complaining about how unfair everyone was being the other day. I laughed. Oh yeah, real victims, those two. Chris took a sip of his coffee. So, what now? I thought about it. About everything that had happened, the stolen packages, the trap, the confrontation, the way they had crashed and burned all on their own. Then I smiled. I think I'll order something special. A few days later, a new package arrived on my porch. Inside, a custom doormat. I rolled it out, stepping back to admire my work. Big, bold letters. Right in front of my door, thieves beware. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't have to worry about a damn thing. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.